Christ's love. What does it compel us to do? And as I thought how this passage fits into the rest of them, as I think about Acts 1, 9 through, or 7 through 11, and I think about the disciples as they were standing there and looking and watching and listening to Christ. And Christ says, listen, you're to go into Judea, into Jerusalem, Samaria, and all the ends of the earth. And as he gave them that command, it brought them to a sense of who he was, but yet they didn't really understand what he was saying. If I tell you to go home, you go where? To the home where you live. But if I tell you to go somewhere else, you would think about it. I pastored a young man, and matter of fact, I did his funeral, and he was still living in the home that he was born in. And when he passed away, he was 94 years old. He was married, him and his wife, but they were living in the home that he was born in. And not much was changed then. His parents lived in that home. They were married, and they bought the home, and they lived in that home. And he was 94 years old and still living in that home. Not much changed. About the only thing that really changed was that I had the opportunity of leading to the Lord. But I think the fact that the disciples, Jesus said, going to Jerusalem, Samaria, Judea, and the ends of the earth. Well, the disciples listened to him because they stayed in Jerusalem. And they didn't go much further than Jerusalem. Matter of fact, they didn't move out of Jerusalem until Christians were starting to be persecuted. It wasn't until they started to be persecuted that they moved beyond Jerusalem walls. They didn't capture everything that Jesus said. Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and what? The ends of the world. They were going to stay right in Jerusalem. They were at home. They were comfortable. And that's where they were going to stay. And it wasn't until they were starting to be persecuted by Paul and others that they finally did what? Went out of the walls. They went beyond Jerusalem. And they started traveling. And if you start really getting into the history of the Christian faith and how it moved, Christians really changed Rome. If you understand the history of Rome and understand what was going on in Rome, you would say that the disciples made a change, made a decision, they went beyond. Rome was a very hard country. Matter of fact, you talk about abortions in our world today, even though we think it's terrible that over 64 million babies have been aborted, some of them been dissected, ripped apart, thrown away, and parts sold. Well, in Rome, if you were married and you had a child and you thought the child was going to have an economic effect on your family, they would take the baby and throw it on a dump. And they would call it exposure killing. Matter of fact, about 5 years ago, they did an excavation in Rome, and they found baby bones of babies in the gutters that they uncovered. Because if a baby was born, and if it was a girl, and they had enough of girls, they would throw the baby down the drain in the gutters and would float. They would call it